Bitcoin's price is a distraction, and most people aren't going to figure it out until Bitcoin is worth $1 million or more. In this video, I want to explain to you what exactly I mean by this. Let's get started. I hear a lot of people saying constantly that Bitcoin is too expensive. It needs to come down before they buy it. It needs to do this. It needs to do that. It's going higher. It's going lower. This is one of the main things that most people seem to focus on. But I don't think that this is the most important thing that we should be focusing on. I think we should be focusing more on which problems Bitcoin can solve. The price doesn't determine which problems Bitcoin solves. Over time, we're going to see Bitcoin's price go up higher and higher and higher because Bitcoin is the only asset that can solve the problem that it solves as a decentralized store of value. The price just shows you how many people are buying and selling, how much Bitcoin is being demanded, how many people are buying Bitcoin, taking it out of the economy, and how many people are selling Bitcoin or adding it to the economy. If there are more sellers than buyers, even temporarily, the price will come down. If there are more buyers than sellers, if there's more Bitcoin demanded than the amount of Bitcoin that sellers are willing to provide, then the price goes up. Because when buyers want more Bitcoin, they offer more money for it. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to buy one Bitcoin at $10,000, if there's no Bitcoin available, you're going to have to offer 11,000, then 12,000, then 13,000. So what's happened in this market is that over time, we've gone through every single price. This ties in that concept that Bitcoin runs out at every single price. What happens is over time, the number of sellers who are willing to sell their Bitcoin at a certain price run out because the supply of Bitcoin is finite. So the people who have Bitcoin and they're willing to sell at, let's say, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, the people who had Bitcoin at those points, they sold everything, and now maybe they have none left to sell at those prices. So over time, what happens is Bitcoin goes from people who have had Bitcoin for a long time and they want more fiat to maybe live their life. You do have to give away some of your Bitcoin sometimes in order to pay for the things that you want. Let's say, for example, if you have Bitcoin, you're not just going to stare at it. You're not just going to stare at your wallet. You're going to want to go on vacations. You're going to want to buy a house. You're going to want to buy a car. You're going to want to spend more time with your family. And all of those things cost money. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to give away some of your Bitcoin in order to supplement your lifestyle. So over time, what happens is the people who own Bitcoin want to give some away. They want to supplement their lifestyle. They want to pay for the things that they want to sustain their life on. They want to pay for a certain standard of living, and they'll be able to because they'll have that Bitcoin to pay for it. So real estate in the current financial system, people could continue to borrow more and more dollars against their houses. As their house prices go up, they can borrow more dollars. You can do that with Bitcoin right now, but I think eventually what will happen is people won't be borrowing against their Bitcoin because nobody will want dollars. And I don't know when this will happen. This could happen 50, 100, 200 years from now, but eventually nobody will want pieces of paper to be paid for their labor, for their time, their energy, all the effort that they put in, all of the skills that they developed to produce a product. Let's say if you want to go to an oil producing country, they put in the time, effort, and energy to create that product. Today, they're getting paid in pieces of paper that can be created out of nothing. The US government can create more dollars. They can borrow more dollars from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve can create more dollars and buy US treasuries from the market. So the entire system is making it so that we can pay for the things that we want. We can buy other people's labor, their time, their energy for something that can be created out of nothing. So that's the world that I think we're eventually going to leave. Back to the point that I was making, Bitcoin's price is a distraction. So over time, more and more people will want Bitcoin. Fewer and fewer people will want fiat. So when you're thinking about Bitcoin being too expensive, you're not looking at it from the right perspective. You're looking at it from the perspective that fiat currencies will be around forever. You're looking at it from the perspective that fiat currencies are a good store of value. But over time, let's say 20, 30, 40 years from now, there's no way that the price of Bitcoin will be lower than where it is today. It's not possible because more and more fiat will chase Bitcoin. So instead of thinking of Bitcoin's price on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, you need to have a minimum 4-year time horizon. So let's say 4 years from now, if Bitcoin's price is at $300,000, are you really going to care if you bought Bitcoin for $40,000 or 45,000? Are you going to care if you bought Bitcoin for 70 or 75, 90 or 95, 100 or 103? What you're going to care about is the fact that you got through to the point where Bitcoin hits $300,000. That's the only thing that's going to matter. So the price that you pay for Bitcoin, at least in my opinion, doesn't really matter, because eventually every single price is going to be a rounding error. Every single price is going to be irrelevant. People were paying $200 for a Bitcoin 12, 13 years ago. Today, Bitcoin's price moves $200 in minutes, seconds, sometimes hours on slow days. But those people are seeing the price that they paid becoming a rounding error. That's the key here. So this price that we see today Bitcoin's around 80,000, 81,000. This price is going to eventually be a rounding error. We're going to see Bitcoin's price moving $81,000 in a week at some point. I don't know when that'll happen. Eventually it will. Then we'll see Bitcoin's price moving $80,000 in a day. Again, I don't know when that'll happen, but eventually it will. Then we'll see Bitcoin's price moving $80,000 in an hour, then in a minute. And at some point, $81,000 is going to be a rounding error, where Bitcoin's price is moving $800, $900, $8 million in a day. And that $80,000 move is like pennies. So when you're buying Bitcoin, don't worry too much about the price that you're paying. Think more about the amount of Bitcoin that you have. Let's say, for example, you have 10 million satoshis or 0.1 Bitcoin. In 50 years, do you think somebody's going to ask you how much you paid for those satoshis? Eventually, those satoshis are going to be worth $50 million. They're going to be worth $50 billion, because the US dollar's value is going to keep decreasing. The US government is going to continue to print more and more dollars as they choose to. And at some point, we're not going to care about dollars anymore. So do you think that the people in 50, 60 years who you're spending your Bitcoin on, your family, your friends, who you're paying that Bitcoin, let's say merchants, do you think they're going to ask you, how much fiat did you pay for this Bitcoin? No, they're not going to care. All they're going to care about is that they get an experience, and all you're going to care about is the fact that you can pay for that experience. Or the merchant's not going to care about how much you paid. All they're going to care about is that they're getting satoshis in exchange for their goods and services. And all you're going to care about is that you can pay for those goods and services. Most people on Earth still have no idea that there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, a finite asset versus an infinite currency. The price of that asset is going to go up forever in terms of that currency. The only way to stop Bitcoin's price from going up is to not produce any more goods and services. If you can't pay for anything with your Bitcoin, then of course your Bitcoin is worthless. But that's not going to happen. Like I said, Bitcoin is the best asset in the world. It's the best form of money in the world. Entrepreneurs and merchants will always want more Bitcoin, and they'll be willing to give you the goods and services that you need in exchange for the Bitcoin that you have. So stop thinking too much about the price. Think more about holding through 4 years. If you can hold from today till 2029, I think you're going to do extremely, extremely well. The prices in between won't matter. You're not going to care. Let's say 20 years from now, when Bitcoin's worth millions of dollars, are you really going to care about this dip that we're going through right now from 109K to 79K? Are you really going to care? No, because there's going to be more of those dips. The only thing that you can do is get used to the dips. The dips are going to continue to happen. We're going to continue to see volatility. I think volatility is going to happen until Bitcoin is the world reserve currency. In terms of US dollars, Bitcoin's price is always going to skyrocket, then fall, then skyrocket, then fall. We're going to see those sideways movements, and we're going to see those dips. Then we're going to see the bear markets and the bull markets. We're going to continue to see that forever, because more and more dollars can be created, more and more Bitcoin can't. Anytime there's not enough Bitcoin available, the price goes up. Anytime there's too much Bitcoin available, the price comes down. And now that governments are starting to get involved, I think things are going to accelerate. I think we're going to see faster cycles. I think we're going to see governments collapse because they're going to take leveraged positions on Bitcoin. Don't get distracted by the price. Don't get distracted by leverage. Don't get distracted by altcoins. Stick to stacking more and more Bitcoin every week, every month, every year, however you can do it. Use Bitcoin as a savings account because that's the best way to make sure that Bitcoin works for you the way that you want it to. So to conclude, don't get distracted by the price. Bitcoin will run out at every single price. You're going to see Bitcoin go to $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. It's going to go to billions of dollars because dollars are always going to chase Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best store of value in the world. Nothing else can compete. So the price is a distraction. Don't even think about it too much. Accumulate more Bitcoin, and in 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to be happy that you did.